Talk about ion storms. Ion storms are these yellow big balls going all around the map. And this is the classic ion storm. The new kind of ion storm are those cloudy, fluffy things where there are actually multiple little ion storms and they've got their strong areas and weaker areas. And you don't actually need to care that much about those. They function pretty similarly as these classic ion storms, but because they are much smaller in radius usually, and there's that stellar cartography, the planetoids and star clusters that destroy them if they become too big of a problem. But these classic ion storms are more simple, more elegant, and they are more dangerous and more game deciding factors than the new ion storms. Because these can't be destroyed. These are not that random as they only have this big grand storm and they move slowly through the map. So let's go through some basics of ion storm. Ion storms, there can be up to 4 ion storm on the map. And actually there's a chance every turn that 1 to 3 new ion storms are born. But the weakest storms are destroyed immediately. So in the beginning of the game, there can be quite random events where weak storms vanish and new appear. But later, when they gain strength and they become strong enough, they will not vanish and they will keep on flying forwards. And what happens is that they are born they are not in the very edge, but on the near of the edge of the map, and they travel to one direction. Usually they head towards the center of the map and leave the map from the other side. So if this is born from here, it will continue towards the center of the map and go out from the other side. And it's not actually a direct route. It never is. It goes a bit like this and this and this and this, because there is a small chance every turn that the storm will change its course a bit. And it does. So it's not, you can't just make a direct line that this is how it will travel. And there's some information of the storm. They are usually this kind of storms that they move warp 6. They can move faster and they will at some point, if they get strength, they will start to move faster, and then you need to be prepared for it that they might do that, and if they do, they will be pretty fast and hard to avoid. When the voltage of the storm is small enough, you don't actually need to care about the damage. I recall it's 150 when ion storm starts to make drag ships and starts to damage. Yes, I remember correctly. So above 150 it starts to make damage and drag ships. Before that, ion storms have got 2 very important capabilities. If the center of a minefield is inside ion storm, you can't sweep it So it's, for example, these can't be swept. And if you lay such a minefield or web field inside the center, inside the storm, and the enemy can't sweep it, it can't also see it. So there can be these so-called invisible minefields. Then also a ship that is in the iron storm and loses its shield. So, and here are two enemy cube ships. I'm intercepting from here, and I am going to win this battle gloriously because I'm from the outside. I move from the outside to those ships and intercept them, and they are from the inside of the storm, and they have lost their shields, and I have shield. So what these ships are trying to do is they are trying to ride this iron storm. If they are there and the storm drags them slowly forward, they are able to go through minefields and save fuel and even fly faster if they actually fly. But the downside is that then they will not have shields there. So you need to be careful. Yes, the shields are down if the storm is powerful enough. It has reached the 150 storm. Okay, and you can't be cloaked. The storm decloaks you unless it's one of those advanced cloakers built by the birds. So these can be actually quite nice when they provide some cloak cover. So what's important and dangerous in iron storms is that, as you remember the host order, the iron storms actually, let's go to the host order, how to play section, general and host order. The iron storms move in the very early phase here in 20. Iron storms move, then act. So they move before you move. So if you are in front of the iron storm will move first, and it will, if it's powerful enough, push you. It can cause you damage, and you can see the amount of damage by using some kind of a calculator, like for example the VGA calculator I've shown you various times. But the damage, what affects the iron storm damage, is the ship mass and the engine deck. So if you have a good engines, transwarps, it's very likely that it doesn't matter how strong the storm is, you will get less damage. And then if you have enough cargo, you will also be protected from the storm damage. But you can use the calculator I just showed you to see the actual amount of damage and crew loss you are going to get. But you got to remember that the iron storms move and act before they take notice of the mass of your ship that it had before the last turn. So if you put your large deep space freighter full of cargo and then click end turn, the ion storms don't count that cargo that turn. They will use that the next turn. So you have to, why ion storms are very dangerous for many is that they move before you move, and you need to anticipate them a few turns before they reach you. Also, you got to understand something. It's often called that the ion storms drag ships, but they actually push them, because as mentioned in the host order, they move and then act. You can actually move in the rear of the ion storm safely without being pushed by the ion storm and without getting damage or getting shields down. And the reason is that the ion storm moves that warp 6 36 light years each turn forwards and then causes the effects. So if you are in front of the ion storm, you will get the effects, but if you are in the behind part inside the ion storm, you will not, because the ion storm will move first forward and then act. So okay, what you can do with ion storms is you can use them to attack some cloakers like privateer area, because it will remove the cloak from such ships. You can use it to lay some webs and large minefields that can't be swept. And for example, they are good idea for Crystalline to try to take advantage of these and try to attack against the enemy to that direction and do counter minefields and webs of their own and ride, because you can fly warp 9 and, well, okay, this is not strong enough storm, but you can, here is strong enough storm because it has to be over 150 voltage. You can use the warp 9 and move the 81 light years and get the bonus push from the storm. And the amount of the push is, as I recall, was it 75% of the 75% of the storm, something like that. So it's actually 75% of the speed of the storm. So it's actually 27.5 or something like that light years that it pushes away. You in the direction of the storm. So you have to calculate. One good trick I use for that is, for example, in this game, I had an advanced cloaker cloaked on the planet. When it's cloaked, it can't be, when it's an advanced cloaker, it can't be pushed by the storm, so it's fully protected by the storm. And I had some alchemy ships, for example, intercepting that advanced cloaker with warp 5. It's enough to reach back to the warp well of the planet and stay on the planet. So there was no need to evacuate those ships in front of the storm. Yep, and you can, of course, this was a very nice thing. When the enemy tries to ride the storm, you can intercept them from the outside of the storm. So you get a huge bonus when they don't have shields, but you have. Okay, but this was in a nutshell of how ion storms are, how you can use them, how they affect your ships, and one last thing is that they have a life cycle. They begin from somewhere, they start to strengthen, and then at some point they start to weaken. And then they either vanish when they have weakened enough, or they will go outside of the map long enough and they will vanish, and then a new storm can appear to replace them. The new ghost storm can also replace them if they have grown weak enough, as mentioned. And then, if two storms merge, their inside centers hit the other's area, they will merge, and they usually continue in the direction of the storm with bigger voltage. So they will be somehow combined, and then they will move and these Iron Storm rules work also for the bigger storms, but in the bigger storms, in the new kind of cloudy storms, but they are a bit more complex as they have these multiple small storms inside them.